I just want to find 11,780 votes. That is what Trump had to say in a taped phone call with Georgia's Secretary of State on Saturday. The hour-long phone call is making headlines across the world, and throughout it, the president can be heard urging the Republican official to alter the election results in his favor. But it looks like some American officials are sick of this rhetoric. All 10 former U.S. defense secretaries who are still alive have published a forceful public letter in the Washington Post. They're declaring that the U.S. election is over and that President-elect Joe Biden is the winner. Well, joining us now is our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim, all the way from New York to break this down, of course. So, Mike, it just came out that Trump spent an hour on the phone pressuring Georgia's Secretary of State to alter the election results. What exactly did they talk about on this call? I mean, what reasoning did Trump give to alter the results?
Much of it has already been out there, Natasha, in the public domain for quite some time now. These, whether you call them conspiracy theories, misinformation, what have you, Trump going through his a list that he's gathered over the last couple of months, anywhere from talking about dead people voting to ineligible voters. He aired his grievances about something called a consent decree, which is controversial to him. It was an agreement, a legal settlement between Democratic and Republican officials that involved signature matching on mail-in ballots. He said it's unconstitutional, illegal. That has been dismissed by the courts a couple of times already. Basically saying, just find me those 11,780 votes. Don't care where they come from. He didn't say that, but that was the implication. Just find them so I can get over the top, over the hump of defeating Joe Biden in Georgia. It still wouldn't give him the presidency, but at least would give him some momentum. All of those efforts were shot down by the Secretary of State in Georgia and his lawyer. Trump said on that call, I don't feel like this is going anywhere. He's right. It's not going anywhere. Eventually, Georgia's Secretary of State agreed to have Georgia lawyers meet with Trump lawyers to go through the data one by one, piece by piece. But again, it's just going to be a repeat of that phone call and a repeat of what the courts have said over the last couple of months since the election.
Now, this official is a Republican, and it looks like the majority of Republican officials across the country seem to be accepting the election results. I mean, what effect would this have on Republican voters? Do they feel abandoned, or like officials are putting democracy over the party?
But, you know, there's actually been a chasm, Natasha, between Republican officials at the local and state levels who have, by and large, been accepting of the results. So they've been willing to humor, or at least hear out Trump's lawyers in certain cases. That they have been mostly accepting of the results. Republicans at the national level, not so much. Now, why is that? Well, they fear, it seems, Donald Trump. They fear backlash. They fear tweets. They fear him pushing for primary opponents for anybody who is going up against him in terms of demanding recounts, in terms of overthrowing the results of the election. And so really we've seen more national Republicans, those in Congress, those in the Senate, those in the national party get behind Trump rather than those at the local and state levels. This is having an impact, it would appear. Analysts say that Republican turnout, early turnout in those two critical Georgia Senate runoff races, which will determine control of the Senate, Republican efforts so far have been suppressed by Trump and depressed by Trump because he's already calling the election invalid. He's calling it unconstitutional. He's calling it illegal. So if you're a Republican, why go out and vote for Trump if you feel that it's not really a valid election to begin with? We're already seeing numbers decrease in terms of the percentage of Republicans turning out in the early voting there from what they were back in November in the general election. And it could, in fact, cost Trump and the Republicans the Senate here in the next couple of weeks.
Well, how is the American public being impacted by this ongoing rhetoric from Trump and his allies that the election is a fraud? I mean, could this hinder Biden and his presidency? Will he lack some sort of legitimacy from a large sector of the American public?
It's going to take a long time, Natasha, I think, for, if it ever comes, for America to be unified in any some sense again. Yes, there is this veneer of illegitimacy, but we've had the same thing, not to this extent, mind you, but the same thing with President Obama. The segment of Republicans thought his election was illegitimate because he was born overseas, which he wasn't. We had the same thing with Donald Trump from some Democrats who felt his election was illegitimate because of Russian and other foreign interference on on his behalf in the election in 2016. So we've been through this before. Again, though, this country is torn apart right now, and it could be some time before it's pieced back together in any real sense.